Live. All right, we're live.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Adrienne. You know I've been talking to
Hey.
you for 20 minutes. Oh, it's updating on YouTube too.
Awesome. Okay, so let's just make sure we
It's
got
got
it
a
all
delay
together.
though.
Let me refresh. Yeah, I see. Definitely, it's going live on your side,
I'm
on
going
your page.
to get away from this so we don't get messed up by the delay.
Okay.
All right. I paused it on my end so I'm not confused because there's a delay.
Okay.
All right, folks. So today we're talking about growing up Black in America, our experiences, and how it relates to the minimalist journey that we're on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just want to say, if you guys have any questions or comments, definitely use the hashtag BLKMIN live. Also, to continue the conversation on Twitter after this discussion. Yeah. So, also, if you're leaving comments directly in YouTube, we'll try to find a way to check those periodically as we're having the conversation so that we can have that kind of interaction. We want this to be a full discussion.
And if you're watching it, I guess in Google, through Google Plus, there's also like the group chat area.
Mm-hmm.
So you can also comment there, I think.
Mm-hmm. But I guess for me, is I'm gonna be manning the phone here on Twitter. So if I see something pop up on Twitter, because I can't do too many screens at once, y'all.
Okay. I'll keep an eye on YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Hold on. Okay. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. So I mean, let's kick this off. So go ahead. Okay. I guess like ask the question again, and then we'll dive in and just let it flow.
So let's just talk generally about our experiences growing up, and what relationship or what understanding we had of stuff in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I am from Eugene, Oregon. So Eugene is pretty well known for being like very environmentally conscious, sustainable, all those things. But my family is from Louisiana and big city, California. And so they moved up here in the 70s, and stuff represented success in our house. So we have a TV in every room. We had, we tried to have the newest car or a version of it. We had like several older cars that no longer worked in the driveway. Still in the driveway.
Yeah.
So it was about, if you acquired it, if you put your money and bought something, it was yours and you kept it for as long as you could. And that represented some type of success or achievement in my household. How about you?
Okay. So for me, my family was, straddling the line between being poor and working class.
Mm-hmm.
But you never know it by looking at us.
Mm-hmm.
We were always dressed nicely. Clothes definitely was a big part of that. And because, we definitely may not have the newest cars and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, clothing and just like little knickknacks and like random things,
Mm-hmm.
the women in my family would collect. My grandfather, he's also a collector. He would collect lots of random tools, cars, trucks,
Yeah.
But again, it's just stuff that's sitting there for years.
Yeah.
But it's also, I guess, because we were poor, we felt that we needed to hold on to this stuff. You
For
know, and this
was it like a rainy day kind of thing? Like,
no, this stuff
let's
is
hold
not
on
used
to
for
it
rainy
for.
days. No.
Yeah.
No. But it just represented like some point of achievement or attainment.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it was just a small little, you know, knickknack.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, always making sure to be dressed nice, that your house looks nice, you know, very well decorated, even if we couldn't necessarily afford some of the things that we had in our house.
Yeah. The interesting thing for my family is that we always tried to get stuff like electronics and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like what you're saying, like we didn't necessarily have like a lot of money growing up. So it ended up being like these bootleg versions of things. And because they broke down so quick, it would just be accumulation of the same kind of thing in our house. So you could literally go into our garage and see these sets of old TV sets or old radio that just for whatever reason, you know, broke down. But we could never bring ourselves, or my parents could never bring themselves to just give it to Goodwill, or even like the idea of even like just, hey, you know, recycle it. Like to them, that equated to you're being wasteful,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So.
And just, I guess, the history too, because like I didn't share where I'm from. I'm from Caroline County, Maryland, and I've lived in different towns throughout Caroline County. It's a very rural area. It's on the eastern shore of Maryland. The majority of people around here are poor, regardless of your race.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of people are poor. And I forgot where I was going with that.
With the, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna try to jog the memory there. So,
sorry, folks, just bear with us.
Yeah, no, we'll figure it out. So since people are predominantly poor there, and you're dealing with stuff,
and I think it's easier when you're poor. It's easier to show your status through things like clothing, and you know, decorating your house nicely. So when anybody comes over to visit, you don't look poor.
Yeah. So, so then if, when you say like decorating your house nicely, do you mean like actually going out and spending money that you didn't necessarily have? Or were you just like trying to use the things that you had but made them look presentable?
No. So, I'm talking about going out and getting furniture, you know, making installment payments on it or whatever. You know, spending money on things like curtains, knickknacks, other decorative wall things. That's what I'm talking about. Not making do with what you have. Although my mother, she's very crafty. You know, she does sew and stuff like that. So she knows how to rework things. But, you know, she still liked to buy things, as did my grandmother and as did, you know, many of the other women in my family. They yard selling a lot. Thrift stores.
So what do you think the what does that say about like us as a people just growing up, where the success we kind of attach to is on actual physical things, as opposed to like, why not save your money and like build wealth from that, or build a business, or build like sustainability? Like why do you think the thing for and I'm not trying to generalize, but you know, because I feel like I had the same kind of experience that you're talking about too. Why do you think the thing was, oh, buy more stuff, as opposed to like save your money?
I don't know. I think it's definitely different depending upon class. But even with the middle class and, you know, upper classes of Black folks, there's still this attainment of certain things, you know, it's still high on our priority list. I don't think that there was a history of generational wealth. I mean, if we're talking about the history of Black people in America, you know, slavery was a huge part of that.
Yeah.
And when people got their freedom, they were just set free. A few may have been fortunate to get, a few dollars or whatever. But most people were just set free with nothing but what they had on their backs and in their shacks. So there's no, there's no legacy of generational wealth. On top of that, you have discrimination, systemic discrimination, making it more difficult for, Black people to get, housing, buy houses and do other types of things that are considered investments.
So then how does that relate to, like what we're talking about? One of our questions is, what's the difference between Black minimalism and then now a white minimalism, white minimalists, because it seems like they're kind of like, the history is different. The reason why we're gravitating towards it is a little different, right?
Yeah, and I think just speaking for some of the popular minimalists, they have a very similar story where they, they left their corporate jobs or they sold their big houses. They started with something to begin with. Versus other people who are starting probably with nothing and trying to make something from that. And I think historically, Black people have had to be very creative in hustling to get what we wanted. Because there were so many barriers in place.
Yeah. I definitely see that. And then also, I think the aspect of like, with the white minimalists that I see on YouTube that are popular, I think it's interesting that they focus on, getting rid of things like beauty related kind of stuff, or that's kind of more of the surface ideas of minimalism, where when I start specifically looking for other Black minimalists online, they go more intrinsic. It's like, it kind of dives more into like Afrocentric, like reconnecting to your roots, like getting more spiritual. It's more kind of things that are talked about with Black minimalists versus what I see from a lot of the popular white minimalists.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely true. And it is ultimately a spiritual journey. I think it's more so for, us, because we're fighting against societal stereotypes, cultural stereotypes. Becoming a minimalist can really make you question who you are. What's your purpose? What are your values? At least it did for me.
Yeah, no, I had the same experience, because for me, it's the question of, if success is not getting the big house, or I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm probably going to be doing this a lot.
That's okay.
They say that, so if success is not about getting the big house, getting the nice car, spending lots and lots of money on lavish things, then how do I know that I'm successful? That's kind of been like an internal question for me. And then it's taken me on this journey of like, oh, that means I have to define success on my own terms.
And that's a good thing that you bring up. In the post that I did this week on what is a Black minimalist, I quoted some comments that I found on Joshua Becker's site. He does Becoming Minimalist. I believe that's the name of it. So it was an old post. It wasn't even about what the comment section went to, but it was an old post from like 2012, and there's a Black man in the comment section, asking if minimalism is viable for African Americans. And, what happens if you don't have those signposts or status markers to say you made it? Like, how does your own culture view you, and how does society view you as a Black person in America?
I could take it on like a micro level with the exchange between sharing this lifestyle that I'm developing in myself with my parents, because I currently, I live with my family. So when I don't come right out and say, yeah, I'm a minimalist, but it's through the actions. Like, I'm always like, why don't we get rid of this? Why don't we consider having less here? We don't have to spend this much doing this. Why don't we consider? And when I actually have that kind of dialogue, there is this pushback of oh, you're just being, I don't know the wording with it, but it comes across of like, why wouldn't you want to do, this is what you do better. You get these bigger things, these lavish things, and just, so far as generationally, there's definitely that piece of like coming to terms with it. It's not about chasing after the Joneses anymore. You know,
and I think similar to that, I also live with my mother, and she's a collector, as was my grandmother, and like I said, many other women in my family. And like, whenever I try to firmly encourage her to get rid of some stuff, you know, she gets a little pushback too. It's just like,
yeah,
well, I paid this much money for it, or I may need it one day, or someone else may be able to use it. And I think that goes back to, you know, that poverty mindset.
Yeah.
Even though that thing may not even be the most practical thing to own, you know, it holds some value to you because you were able to, you know, you own it now, and you may see that it may have some purpose in the future, even though it's highly unlikely. And what does it mean if I get rid of this thing?
Yeah. That's really interesting. And so, I mean, with the poverty mindset, is that also kind of have pieces of kind of the scarcity mindset? Like, you're just afraid that you won't have the resources to take care of yourself at a certain point, you know, with a certain thing. So like, if I let something go now, and then like, let's say down the line, I do need something like that. Well, darn, I let it go.
I just wasted that money, and I wasted my money. I wasted my time or something like that. Yeah, definitely. It definitely plays into it. And it's, you know, something that I've had to grapple with myself. You know, through college, and even a few years after college, like after each semester, we would have to move out of our dorms completely. So like, and I was doing like winter sessions, sometimes summer sessions. So, you know, 3 to 4 times a year, I'm moving this stuff back and forth from home to college, home to college, home to college. And in those 4 years, I don't think I've ever questioned why I kept all that stuff and why I put myself through all that stress and frustration of moving it back and forth, you know, every semester.
That's interesting too. Like the whole moving aspect. When you go to actually start, tell me if this is for you, like the case just in general. When you go to move and then you start unpacking all the stuff and you start realizing, oh, I have this, where did this come from? And you, in your mind, you're like, you haven't touched it in years. You could very well just at that point say, okay, let's just get away with it. But for so long before I started embracing minimalism and learning about it, I would have packed it away and took it to the next spot and then stuffed it somewhere in a closet, and it was there, but never see it again.
Yeah,
so there's that kind of like behavior, you know.
And I think it goes back to the scarcity mindset, or that just in case mindset. And so why I kept taking it, like, it's mine, and even though I'm not using it right now, I might need it in the future.
I have a whole case of craft stuff because in 2011 I was doing a lot more DIY, craft related kind of things, and I went through this whole period of just buying all this craft related stuff. And right now I'm not really doing much of that. I'm doing more like writing and more whatever the case may be. Anyways, I have that right now. I spent so much money on these things, and I really could just give it away. I could, or, you know, sell it on Craigslist or whatever the case may be. But it's literally, and the step I had to take was I had to take it out my room and put it into my car It's been sitting there for at least 6 to 7 months. Literally, it's this designated seat taken up of just all these craft related stuff. And I've been telling myself, okay, Adrienne, get rid of it. But it's just this idea of like, what if I get to this moment of like, I could be an artist someday. You know? I could be the next whatever. I should have that just in case, you know? So I still have that now, you know, that scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's something that, you know, I think it takes probably a good lifetime to work through.
Yeah.
When you've grown up that way, you know, it's embedded in you to a certain extent.
And then also, too, it's just the cultural thing. I mean, we live in a very consumer-based, the U.S. is very much consumer-filled, you know, society. And like I said earlier, it's related so closely to success that now that we're, you know, trying to practice minimalism, it's like, how do you redefine success? And that's actually probably one of the questions I have for you. So how have you started to redefine success in relation to things and also to how you just live in your everyday life?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, success is more tied to the things that I can do versus the things that I have. Like, I don't think about my possessions that much anymore. But, you know, one of the things, when I first went minimalist, one of the things I wanted to do is travel more. So that's been big on my list, like, how can I make this work so that I can go and experience other cultures? Or how can I start my own business? Or, you know, how can I do this live chat with you and build this community? So for me, I'm more concerned about experiences rather than stuff. And that's how I define my success.
Yeah. I think there's definitely probably a common thing with minimalists, because I say the same way. I have the same experiences over things on purpose, you know, and that's kind of like a saying I have. And it just means that, like, I would rather spend my time, my energy, my money investing in quality community between people like you and I are doing right now, quality conversations, developing those relationships with my friends and family, not having to, like, even the idea of that, like, if I live smaller or simply, I don't have to spend as much time cleaning up my house because it's already set.
Yeah.
So I want all that time.
Time is also a big component of success. Like, how much do you control your time and what you're able to do with that time? And that, again, goes along with experiences. If you're spending less time maintaining your stuff or working to obtain something, then you have more time to do what you actually want to do.
I mean, one of the societal things that we have is this 40-hour work week, right? And the idea of the 40-hour work week is because it's supposed to pay for the lifestyle that we perceive as we want to live, like the lavish vacations, a nice house, the rent, whatever the case may be. But what if you embraced minimalism on a level where you could cut down your lifestyle, where you only needed to work 20 hours a week and you literally covered all of your expenses and you were saving money and you're still living a very fulfilled, not that you're living without, you're living a very well life. Like, what, that 20 hours a week of your time that you'll never get back, what could you do with that? You know, so I think that's one of the things that minimalism is starting to kind of help me to kind of define, you know, like, okay, wow, I don't necessarily need to work a 40-hour week.
I don't.
You know? And that's not equated to laziness, you know, just because you don't.
Well, to who though?
Huh?
It's not equated to laziness with whom?
Well, I'm just saying, like, if you define success as I want to spend more of my time doing things that I want to do versus having to work a 40-hour week just to take care of my day to day, then you saying like, now I've created a life where I don't have to do that 40-hour a week anymore. You're not being lazy because you no longer partake in that 40-hour week. You know, you've just defined your life in terms that work for you.
So I guess
yeah. Go ahead.
I think that brings up, I guess, perception. Your perception of what is success, and then I guess back to what society's perception is.
Yeah.
Like, have you experienced like any pushback from your family or friends about, you know, your personal decision to live your life the way that you do?
Oh yeah, all the way. I think it's probably like the source of one of, like, I did that video on fear. It's what's like the source of fear for me, where I live my life on my terms, but is it going to be in exchange for my happiness or their happiness? So if I'm living my life exactly how I wanted to live, I'm not hurting nobody, whatever the case may be, but it's not the typical life that what society says or even your family says you should be living. If it affects their happiness, you know, whether it's like they're kind of giving me pushback on it, should I be doing that? Like, there's those kind of questions that come up for me, you know, because so I guess is that what is, I don't know if that's what you mean by the question. I want to try to stay on point to the question.
No, you're good. Yeah, I mean, the question was just how have people, you know, perceive your change, your lifestyle change?
I think it shows up in different ways. You know, my friends, they see it as, oh wow, you know, you're not necessarily doing the same thing I'm doing, you know, because you know, you're not trying to like I said, spend tons of money on lavish things. I think with my family, I think they one of the things is I spend a lot of time alone, like thinking and processing and doing like reading and stuff. And so I think they perceive it as like, oh, you're being secluded, too secluded. You know, you don't spend enough time like out with us doing whatever the case may be. But I think one of the things with minimalism that I've developed is like being okay to be alone and like spend time like with yourself. Like, it's okay to be like in your thoughts, and I think minimalism has kind of like made that okay. So there's that. How about you? Maybe you can answer that question better. I don't know.
Well, I don't know if I can answer it better because that hasn't been my experience.
Okay. So
I'm pretty like, I don't know if stubborn's a word, but I do what I do, and people don't question me.
Oh, shoot.
They might be curious, and you know, they ask might ask, you know, certain questions, but I've never got like direct pushback for being a minimalist. But I've also never even used that term. Do you use the term with your family?
I don't use the term. I don't be I don't go like, I'm a minimalist. Guess what, guys? You know? But I think they see it more in the choices that I make, you know? I'm just more comfortable with doing something that doesn't require this big flashy thing than not. And that might cause people to have questions like, well, why didn't you do this? This is what everyone else would have done, you know? And I'm just like, yeah.
How is the Black experience different? Because I don't know that we've answered that necessarily. I feel like the things that we're talking about are very typical of many Americans. who are embracing minimalism and just growing up in this country in general. I guess maybe it speaks more to a class issue than a race. But there is something different.
Well, I think you hit on it in the beginning, where it's the common way that people come to minimalism. I think it might be different for Black folks than white folks. Not saying. Now, I think it also ties into the classism piece too, because especially in today's world, there's more people are becoming, poor than not, and because of that, we're starting to have a similar experience in that aspect too. So I think it's more about like how you might come to it. Like, I think with the Black experience, especially if you come from a place of like not having much and having it come up, then the idea of minimalism is not too far of a stretch in the aspect of like, I don't have the money to purchase a lot of things anyway. So the idea of living without doesn't necessarily, it's not too big of a stretch. I think
it is a stretch for some.
Well, here's the difference. I think when you, it's not a stretch, but then like, I don't know how to put this in wording, but I guess the desire to want to get more, you lose when you embrace the minimalism part, because like we said, we talked earlier about keeping up with the Joneses, right? There's a lot of this, like, I want to have the flashy things, but you just based on money in your pocket, you can't, as a lot of, the Black experience. The difference with minimalism comes in, and it's like, okay, I lost that desire to want to have necessarily the flashy things. And I think that's maybe different.
But I still think that's more class, though.
That's more class?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, going back to what you were saying originally, it is a stretch for some, because even though they know they can't directly afford it, they still get it somehow, or they still long for it. And I think that creates a little bit of mental anguish when you want something that you can't have.
So that is minimalism that solution to that then, or?
I think it would depend. I think that's that mental, emotional, maybe spiritual piece that you have to go through in order to stop desiring it. And to realize that you don't actually need it, and that you can do a whole lot with the little bit that you have. Making $1 out of 15 cents.
Yeah. So then if we haven't really hit on how is that different for race, is there anything else we can think of? Because this is interesting, because we thought it was going to be more of a discussion of, this is the Black experience and how it can be different from other people, other backgrounds. But it sounds like in the conversation, there's this idea of classism that's even a bigger kind of experience too, that it's part of it, Yeah. So that's interesting.
I think there is a race component to it, but maybe we haven't gotten that deep yet. Yeah.
So how long have you actively been practicing minimalism in your life?
A little over 3 years.
Okay.
So I started, I guess, December 2012.
Okay. Yeah, and I was, probably 2013, something like that. 2013 was when I acted. In 2011, I ended up having a lot of things happen to me where financially I had to do it naturally. It just had to happen. But I think in 2013 is when I recognized, this is actually a lifestyle movement. It's not a bad thing,
Right.
So that's when I was like, okay, let me look into this more. So yeah, that might be part of it too, is that, we're still pretty new in it, the idea of it.
But I still feel a difference. Perhaps we can't articulate it. but it feels differently.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it has more to do with, let's see, so we've been talking a lot about just like the experience, but do you think it's more in like there's other pieces to it which further conversation we're having? Like I know we have a topic talking about, natural hair and things
Mm-hmm.
like that, and just like how you're perceived, like your actions, and how those we have those kind of discussions coming up. Do you think all those pieces together kind of give that difference?
I think that will clarify it.
Yeah. So this is more of a audience. This is more of a to be continued.
Right.
So maybe maybe the goal after this series will have a better understanding of what is that the difference there.
Yeah, because I think a lot of our experiences growing up are definitely tied to class, as we're speaking about right now. They seem very class focused.
You cut out a little bit. What did you say?
I said a lot of the things that we've shared about our own personal experiences seem very like class focused.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like it centers around poverty. But am I still cutting out?
I mean,
are we still breaking up?
Can you hear me?
You're breaking up.
Yeah, you're breaking up on my side too.
What were we saying?
So this is a lot of class focus.
Statistically, there are more Black people in poverty. I think it's like 40%
mm-hmm.
of Black children grow up in poverty. So statistically, we're more inclined to grow up poor.
Well, I mean, and then also to bring this, and I think maybe this might be a part of how we break these conversations down. There's going to be pieces that come back because just that whole idea of slavery is a race class thing. That's very much a race class thing. So even though we're, not necessarily speaking specifically to race is the reason why minimalism is different.
Right.
I think for the Black experience, race and class are so intertwined.
Yeah, they are.
It's, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so what time do we have here? We have a close. Oh, okay. We're close to the hour. This is actually we have like 10 minutes to like the hour mark.
So, wow, let's bring it home.
Yeah. Did you have any other questions that you want to explore too? Because I kind of like just flowing off just the conversation, but. Can I throw out a plug to everyone who's going to be watching this? Is make sure to subscribe to Yolanda's channel here. She's also put the link down to my channel, Adrienne the Minimalist. But overall, there's also a Black Minimalist channel that you want to subscribe to, and then on Twitter, a Black Minimalist handle, and we'll have all the details for you in the description below. But just stay connected. And also, if any of these kind of questions or conversations that we're having sparks questions that maybe you want us to answer or discuss in future talks, leave a comment below because you're part of the discussion too.
Yeah, and I think to go along with what you're saying, I think our next chat should be on the Black Minimalist channel. So over the next 2 weeks, I'm going to work on that with you. To make sure we get it set up correctly so that these videos are actually on that channel.
Okay.
So yeah, the next chat will be on the Black Minimalist channel. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to that so you receive the notification for the next live chat.
Yes. Awesome.
All right. So this is a good discussion.
Yeah. Do we have do you put out the date for the next
yes.
The next talk?
The date is April 3rd. Right? It's a Sunday.
Yeah, April 3rd.
April 3rd. And it's going to be on natural hair journeys and minimalist beauty. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure we'll have a lot of conversation about that. I may see if we can invite Pastavia to the conversation. She has a channel with her husband called Eco Conscious Minimalist. And then she has subscribed
to that.
Yeah, and she has her own beauty channel that's just called Pastavia Monique. So
yeah,
she can join us for the live chat in April.
I think that would be good. And again, if whoever's listening to this, because I think you could have up to 5 people in a live chat or whatever,
or more. Yeah.
So if some of you out there want to be in on that next discussion, again, leave a comment below and make sure you subscribe to the Black Minimalist channel on Twitter and through YouTube, because adding to the discussion, I think, will only make this better.
Hold on for 1 minute. I think we have some Google Plus comments.
What? We got comments on the first time?
We're slacking. We're slacking here.
We are going to get our stuff together, people.
Let's answer. We have a question from Aga K. Why did you first start being a minimalist? You want me to tackle that first?
Yeah.
So for me,
go
ahead.
You got it.
Okay. So for me, I was just fed up with my life. I was fed up with the 9 to 5. It was like an 8:30 to 5 or something. Just the DMV, that for those you don't know, that's DC. You also include Delaware sometimes, Virginia and Maryland, this metropolitan sort of area. The DMV culture, the congestion, the traffic, and just, always feeling exhausted and not motivated. My life there was draining me. So I said, F it. I'm going to move back home. I'm going to get rid of all my stuff. I'm not going to search for a new apartment. I let the lease expire. Got rid of all my furniture. A lot of just stuff that was in the apartment that I didn't need anymore because I was moving back to my mom's house. So I got rid of all that stuff. And when I started doing this, I didn't know I was doing minimalism. I just knew that I wasn't happy and I needed to make a change. And my first thought to make a change was to get rid of everything and just disrupt my whole routine. So I moved back home. I commuted back and forth to work for a while, but but that got hectic. And then eventually I quit my job and I decided that I would no longer be working full time anymore for any other person. I bought a plane ticket to Mexico. I went there for 3 weeks. I started coaching because it was something I always wanted to do. And the job that I had when I quit was an academic advisor. So it was sort of like coaching, but you're bound to the restrictions of the university. So I continued, I wanted to continue that sort of, helping people get their lives together, but in a different format besides, a university setting. So yeah, I just, I got rid of everything, quit my job, saved up some money while I was preparing to quit, but not enough. And just started doing what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a life coach. I wanted to travel more, and I just did it. There was nothing, holding me back once I made the decision. And I started, creating the life that I wanted. But again, I didn't know that it was minimalism. I didn't discover minimalism until a year later. I didn't discover that was a thing until a year later.
Yeah. So is my turn? Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I could title how I came to minimalism, it would be like a series of unfortunate events. You know that movie.
What is it? Lemon Snicket?
Yeah. Yeah. And that would be, I'm not trying to be dramatic, but that would be it. So in 2000, I'm going to jump around. So 2009, I got so fed up with being in call center work. I've been a call center. See, yes, amen. Pray for me. So was so fed up, and I didn't even know that I was getting just internally done, but just at that point of being so long in call center work, I got to the point where I was just like a robot. I was a tool in this big machine. I had no sense of like creative expression. I had no sense of like feeling like every day was exciting. It just felt like I was just struggling just to get through everyday life, And I was paying my bills, I was taking care of the things I needed to, but at the same time, I felt like really dead inside. So that's 2009. Mm-hmm. So 2009, I literally walked out my job, quit it, done, and thought that I would start an online business, but had no set of like business skills, like didn't know how to create a business. I just had like this extreme enthusiasm and passion and thinking that like, oh, this life that I'm leaving as an employee, I don't want it anymore. Let me start a business. Maybe this will give me the freedom and the excitement and the things that I want out of life. I started a business called Soulful Blend Coaching. So I did a coaching. I didn't know what I was going to coach on. So I literally was just like, I started doing these weekly podcasts, just motivating people to live a better life, and I got people that needed help with things like better work environment. And then I had one person that needed help with, her man skills, like relationship skills. And I was like, that's cool, because I felt like in my friend circle, I was that person, just to be that listening kind of sounding board for people.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
So, but I didn't know how to make that into an actual business. So that fell apart pretty quickly. And so by 2011, I ended up having to go back into customer service. And I got a job with one of the top customer service companies. I think and I thought that was going to be it. I would have a really good job. I ended up moving to one of my dream cities, and I was working this job, living in my dream city, had my own apartment. It was amazing. And just before, because it was like a 90-day temp to hire, literally probably days before I was going to be made a full-time employee, my body, like I suddenly got sick and had to be hospitalized for 7 days. And so I didn't have insurance.
Dang.
And I'm in this new city all alone. And I'm stuck in bed, bedridden. And I'm thinking, what the hell? Like, And so the job ended up saying, hey, we can't have you be out of work that long. And because you're still considered a temp, we could just let you go without just cause. Mm-hmm. So I ended up losing my job. I got this massive medical bills. I'm thinking I'm supposed to be my dream city living the life. No. So I literally had to like reset, do a full-on reset, move back home with my parents, and try to figure out how to do life on my terms. And so since 2011 till now is kind of been that journey. Now at 2011, I never called it minimalism. The first time I started tapping into minimalism was when I was on YouTube, and I found this tiny house channel. And there's this documentary called We Are the Tiny House People. I don't know if you ever seen it.
I think so.
Yeah. And it talked about just like people purposely living in these tiny houses and like purposely living with less, and like how much like excitement and freedom in life they were having. And I was just thinking, people do that? That's what, like, you can actually do that? Like, this is, and you're happy doing this, And that made made me click in my mind, oh, this is like actually a way of life. Like, you don't have to, it's a real thing. And so since then, I've been exploring things like tiny house living, minimalism, living with less, and now even like one of the things I did this last year is I've really been stepping into my spiritual practice, and I committed to like reading the Bible this year. And I'm realizing this, and this might be kind of off. This might be its own little topic, but hey, this is discussion. Jesus was a minimalist. Like, real talk. Jesus was a minimalist, yo. Like, the way that he like just focused on what he had to do in this world, and then like walked around encouraging people and did what he was supposed to do.
It's funny how you say that. It's funny that you say that, because let's take it back to growing up Black in America, because in Black churches, minimalism is not a thing. They do a lot of extra.
Yeah, a lot. But if you start really getting into like that,
I agree.
And so there's all now, and so now it's like a full circle. It's just like I'm experiencing all these new things on the spiritual level. And as of now, I do a lot of volunteer work that is starting to lead to like actual skills that I could actually translate into a business. Like, I'm actually learning what a business is about now. And I realize that is what I want to do. Like, the ultimate goal is to be able to have an online business that I could do from anywhere in the world. So the first thing I have is freedom at all times to do what I want to do, how I want to do. And then also these aspects of community. Like, I'm really, really passionate about face-to-face community, no behind the screen. I mean, we're doing this, but even the fact that it's live, that's just more like I'm getting real-time engagement with people. Like, I really am passionate about those kind of things. And minimalism has kind of helped me clear away the clutter, the mental clutter, to realize that for myself, and then actually start to work it out. So,
And I think we definitely need to do a chat on spirituality. I think that would be an interesting track. Spirituality and minimalism.
Especially when I just said Jesus is a minimalist. I don't know what folks is gonna say about that one, but I don't know. I've
seen that before, actually. Like, I've seen that video on YouTube. If you search that, there was a guy who made a video about that.
Really?
But still, I think it's interesting topic. Because there's Black Jesus and there's white Jesus. Black people and their Jesus, that's a special thing.
Yeah. So, well, that was good. Are there any more questions?
Yes, there's another one.
Oh, okay. Yay. Awesome.
This is from BW Living Well. And she says, I feel like I've always been a minimalist without even knowing it. I've lived in various places, and with each apartment, I've never felt the urge to furnish and decorate, clutter my place with stuff. And if I did attempt to, it became a burden. I'd rather my money go to passions like travel, 1 to 2 gadgets, and beauty products. Have you met accidental minimalists like myself, where it's due to their personality and not the person actively trying to downsize?
Well, that's a good question.
I don't know that I have met any accidental minimalists.
Yeah, I think for me it's called a different name. Like I said, like I grew a hippie in Eugene. I live in Eugene, Oregon, and honestly, hippie is not an offensive term. So
no,
don't take it that way, folks.
Normal there.
But that if you ever come to Eugene, Oregon, you will know it's that it's like the 60s flower child culture. That's here live and well in 2016 in Eugene, Oregon. That's what it is. So this definitely is a, so I think I have, but I probably have never had the like conversation like, oh, you're a minimalist, but like you could tell that that's the way that they live their life. It's based on experiences over accumulating things.
Yeah, I haven't had that experience.
Yeah.
I haven't met an accidental minimalist in my personal life. They are firmly, you know, consumerist materialists.
They're like, I rep this hood right here.
But that leads to another conversation about friendships. And like, are your friendships impacted by your minimalism? I don't think that mine have been impacted, but I feel like myself personally taking a step back from relationships because we may not be on the same path. I don't think it's negatively impacted the friendships, but there's definitely been a change.
What about romantic? Because I think in the same way, like friendships or romantic, you know, has that been an issue for you? Like, have you had to explain this is what I'm about yet? Yeah.
Unfortunately, no.
I'm like, I want that problem.
There's a lack of available black men where I live at. And yes, I do like black men.
Yeah.
That's not an issue. Haven't had to encounter that yet.
Yeah. With my friends, no, I don't. I think maybe the only kind of like thing that's changed is that it's probably changed who I would initially want to befriend. Mm-hmm. You know, meaning like because I'm embracing this on such a deep level and it's just naturally kind of showing up of who I am in the world, then the type of people that approach me and vice versa to be friends with tend to be on a similar mindset. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily maybe to the extreme that I am, but more or less on they definitely want to have more experiences over things. But they're not actively being like, let me get rid of everything in my house, which I'm not either. I think that's a conversation too. It's just, you know, that we'll probably need to have. It's this idea of like, when do you actually become the minimalist when you no longer, like when you only have one item?
There's no end point.
Like, yeah.
I don't think it's a lifetime journey.
But I mean, like, my question is can
when do you stop
a minimalist be defined? No. Can you call yourself a minimalist just at the thought of being like, I'm a minimalist? Like, even though I haven't given away one thing yet, but I have the intention to do that. And you have to have like at least 50 items. That's it. And now you're a minimalist. That kind of idea, you know?
Well, I don't think there's a number, but you can't just say you're a minimalist if you're not actively trying to simplify some part of your life. Mm-hmm. Like, I think you're being fraudulent.
you
and when they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, you need to act on those intentions. You can't just say I'm a minimalist but not try at all to downsize and minimize.
I'm a minimalist in theory. Yeah.
Minimalism requires you to get your hands dirty. Like, you know, the journey often starts with the stuff and it goes in other directions. Mm-hmm. But it starts with that physical removal of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For many. I won't say for all, but for many people, it starts with those physical things. So that's my take on that one. Adrienne?
So you're coming out there.
Oh.
Okay. There you are. Okay.
All right. So those are all the questions that we had.
Well, thank you guys for questions. That's awesome. That definitely put another spark into the conversation right there. So keep them coming, please.
Thank you, Aga K and BW Living Well. I wonder if it stands for Black Women Living Well.
Yeah, let's. That's awesome. So are we gonna close it out then? Because it sounds we definitely hit that time.
Yeah. So it was a good conversation today. I think we will continue the conversation about what it means to grow up Black in America and the Black experience, because I think we personally need to dig a little deeper into it. Mm-hmm. to have a more fruitful discussion. And I think with our upcoming topics, we'll begin to hit on different pieces of that, and then maybe we can bring it all back together.
That's what and just how this conversation
circle around.
Just how this conversation went, there's going to be a lot of circling. There's going to be a lot of pulling back. I remember when you said this piece. Let me bring it back.
And now I got an answer for you. Now I got a response for you. Yeah, just in case, like, any new viewers, like, these discussions are very open-ended and informal. Like, we did write down a few topics, but we don't have anything prepared. So, we're going to be comfortable with silences and with saying, I don't know, You can also get comfortable with that too. And if if we are talking about something, feel free, like she said, to jump in and leave a comment. Yeah. That may help us, get, wrap that thread of the conversation up in that moment.
Oh, yeah. Because I don't, and you'll have to man those comments, because like I said, I don't think I could see the comments on my side.
Yeah.
But that honestly, those comments at the end there were really cool. So please, engage with us and have those comments in there so we can not only have this discussion, but also steer it in a way that makes everyone engaged in it.
Yeah, and brings value for you. We appreciate you spending your time with us. And we want to make these conversations, worthwhile for you. So the way you can help us do that is by, adding your comments in.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So we will see you 2 weeks from now, April 3rd, and we'll be talking about natural hair and minimalist beauty. I know this is going to be a popular topic.
Yes. So bring your froze and your pits.
Yeah.
Bring it out. But, so that's going to be 2:00 Pacific Standard Time, 5:00 Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be right back here. Or no, we're going to try to be on the Black
Minimalist channel. So if you go to the description box, I have a link to the channel there, and I also have information about, again, when the next chat is. And I need to put our links in there because I didn't.
Yeah.
I just put the Black Minimalist link in there.
Yeah. So, and then to continue the conversation as we're leading up to the next one, guys, BLKMIN live, LIVE is the hashtag you could use on Twitter. And we will definitely be checking that hashtag and responding and keeping the conversation going. All right.
All right.
All right, everyone. Are we
Happy spring? Bye? Today's the first day of spring, even though it's supposed to snow here later on. Like,
in Oregon we have gray rain right now, so
yeah, so it doesn't really feel like spring, but we'll take it anyway. It's supposed to warm up later in the week. All right, bye, people.
All right, bye.